obviously we can move on to the Chargers game. Chargers ended up losing 24-22 to the Buffalo Bills. They needed a last second field goal from Tyler Bass to beat the Chargers. Chargers showed a lot of fight in this game, but at the end, obviously the Buffalo Bills have a big path where they've won 3 in a row now. Now they're looking up to potentially beating or playing that last game for the AFC East. So I know Gilbert and I at one point we're kind of looking at each other and we're like, when is this team going to wake up and finally get going? Because they were down, I think, 10-0. And finally they kind of got it going in the second quarter. But Gilbert, just what were your takeaways from the Bills and Chargers?
Yeah, I think they're going to find a way into the postseason. The Bills, they're a good team, but they reminded me of the team of why they were 6-6. They're very inconsistent, uneven, a thin defense, an inconsistent offense, and they can't figure it out, Fernando. Like either they're going to be a run-heavy team or a bombs-away team, and they tried being a little bit of both against the Chargers, and there's like, okay, well, pick a scheme, and I think the good teams are able to do both at the same time, but they kept trying to run the football with James Cook. It wasn't working. He had that kind of critical fumble. And then they tried pushing the ball to Gabe Davis, which did work. And then tried doing it with Stephon Diggs, and then there was a fumble. So I think Allen's kind of going back and forth with feeding everybody. But what's making you laugh, Fernando?
Oh, what Athir just sent. Tell Dan and Dago. Athir said, before you talk trash about the Ravens, let's hope we get staffs like this in LA.
Oh, okay.
Dan's right here, so he heard it.
You pop in, Dan, if you want, but no, okay.
He said he's good to go. But I mean, nothing that Dan said is wrong. He just said that he's just not a big Lamar guy, and I mean that's completely fine. I mean, not everybody has to like everybody, or like the quarterbacks and everything, but Dan's unique, so I understand where he comes from with his form of thinking. But I wasn't surprised at the way they were flying around though against the Bills, but
the Chargers.
Yeah, the Chargers. Like Derwin only played 40 snaps. They used different combinations. There
was more at the line of scrimmage, I felt like.
Yeah, they used him a little bit more in the slot than anything, but I kind of thought you would kick out Kenneth Murray or Eric Kendricks and see what Derwin could do maybe at that spot, maybe move him around a little bit more, let him do a little bit more with that, but obviously for some reason Kenneth Murray has the huge, whatever. But I wasn't surprised at the way the team fought because I know they love Gift Smith. Gift Smith is loved in this organization. Gift Smith is loved by the players. I wasn't surprised by any of that. So I was really impressed with the way they did. They played, but not surprised that they fought for him. But at the end, obviously the Bills caught him. But Gilbert, which Bills team do you feel like is the team that we what's the real Bills team? Is it the one that thrashed because remember the Bills, unless they win the division, which I think is going to be very tough for them, they're going to be playing on the road if they make the playoffs. So which Bills team do you think is the real one? The one that went into Kansas City and the one that played against the Cowboys, or this Chargers one? Because there kind of seems like there was kind of a disconnect against them.
Yeah, well, first of all, I think everybody's gonna jinx that Week 18 game for the AFC East title on the line. Like the Bills almost lost to the Chargers, then the Dolphins look pretty good against the Cowboys. Watch the Dolphins mess around and beat the freaking Ravens like you.
You think it's gonna be Colts and Jags, huh? That last one.
I don't want to see the Colts. I'm tired of the Colts. I love Shane Steichen, but they're gonna be a terrible team in the playoffs. And then the Steelers are still hanging around. But anyways, to the point, everybody lost that they needed to lose for the Bills. And I still see them as like a slightly above average team. Like this whole talk about being super contenders after what I saw with the Chargers, okay, cool. They still are the inconsistent team. They can't figure it. Like offensively, I like watching the Bills when they're bombs away, but that means more interceptions for Josh Allen. Like what they did to Philly a couple weeks back in overtime. That was a fun offense, but they win. Like they're better when they run the ball with James Cook. Like you mentioned that Cowboys game. But then, like, people get frustrated. Like, Stephon Diggs wants the ball or give Dalton Kincaid the ball. And Allen's like, well, I didn't really do anything. I'm like the guy who got the A on the project who didn't do anything. It's like they can't figure out who they are. It's a little concerning. and then can McDermott keep having great game plans for a very thin defense? They're getting a little healthier, but people keep talking about them like, oh, if they get in, watch out. I'm like, okay, the Ravens are actually much better than them. I think maybe even this Dolphins kind of team with a better defense could beat this Bills team in Week 18. I think even the Browns should be ahead of the Bills when it comes to Super Bowl contenders in the AFC. Like the Browns have been really impressive, so they're a good team. They're gonna be a scary out, and then maybe they play the Chiefs in the first round. Maybe they knock out the Chiefs at Arrowhead Stadium. But I don't see them like on the levels these other teams. Like the Chiefs and the Bills are kind of the same. The Dolphins did impress me, but I still like the Browns and the Ravens a little higher.
The Bills scare me lots because Josh Allen is hungry. He's the person I don't want to see in Baltimore in the AFC title game, Super Bowl trip on the line.
You could
I
probably throw
fear,
4 interceptions against that defense. Like it's just
but man, I would love to see Cleveland and Baltimore in the divisional game. Like that would be a lot of fun for me, just because I'd love to see
Joe Flacco.
Joe Flacco against Baltimore. That'd be really interesting to see how that would go. But yeah, no, I agree with you. I think this could mean that Josh Allen throws a lot of interceptions. This is kind of
They're fun to watch. Like if they have Gabe Davis
yeah.
involved, I like that offense, but they get a little reckless trying to push it.
Yeah, especially because like that one throw to Stephon Diggs, like
Yeah,
if like he said, if he would have planted his foot
yeah.
and thrown it,
On their
he
throne.
completes it, and it's probably a touchdown to Stephon Diggs. But the problem is that Alohi Gilman made a good play on it and he intercepted it. So I don't know.
Yeah. Anything you're okay? I was gonna say anything on the Chargers vacancy front, Fernando. I don't know, but I'm probably too early for that. But
I
uh,
was just thinking that on this kind of front, I don't know what you think about this, but if they really do go get I think last night should have showed them exactly what they need. Well, you know what? Hold on. Keep on talking.
okay, Fernando's trying to recover, but I don't know. I'm interested to see what happens with this GM and head coaching search round. Like I keep telling you, like if they kind of hold off on the GM search, that tells you they're gonna go big game hunting here, like either like a Jim Harbaugh or a Bill Belichick. And Bill Belichick's having the time of his life right now, just sticking into the Patriots. Like, yeah, I'm gonna get fired at the end, but screw your draft pick. Let's keep winning some ball games here where Bailey's happy. And I actually kind of like that. That like it was more like Mac Jones, you're the problem. It wasn't me, the genius guy with 6 titles as a head coach or 2 with the Giants. Like, seeing Bill O'Brien and Bill Belichick as Fernando keeps dying in the background. I'm gonna try to keep being professional here. Seeing Bailey Zappi just doing what he's doing the last couple of weeks, winning the game against what did he beat? He beat the Steelers. He beat the Broncos. So that tells me that Bill Belichick still has a lot left in the tank. And I'm starting to go back into that, but I still gotta see it to believe it that the Chargers are going to spend money for Jim Harbaugh, for Bill Belichick. Do you trade capital for Mike Tomlin? I'm still on that train for a veteran, experienced head coach, but then the money and the compensation, all that's a whole factor, and that's where we kind of tend to say maybe the dream won't be alive for the Chargers to get a veteran coach. This is Dan Quinn. People got soured on Dan Quinn because of the performance in Buffalo, but I still think he's a good coach.
The one thing that I kind of go back to is that if they do go get a Jim Harbaugh, because yesterday should have showed them one thing: the AFC West is open for
Yeah,
business. Like,
actually, yeah.
especially with what happened to Mahomes. Like, Mahomes is the reason why they lost that game. Like, he fumbled that ball, and then he threw that pick six.
But what were they
Aiden
trying to
O'Connell
do
didn't
on that
even.
on the exchange with Pacheco? I still don't even know what the hell they're trying to do. Like, why is he taking the snap and then why is he giving it back to Mahomes? Like, just give it to Mahomes in the first place. It was dumb.
Dude, that's what I'm telling you though. Like, they sometimes overthink and they do stupid stuff like
They
that.
ran
And
the
then,
same play like twice and back to back. One was a touchdown, one was a scoop and score touchdown for the other team.
yeah, like it was just dumb in my opinion to do all that, and they got fancy.
And he's now yelling at
And
everybody. He's really frustrated. Kelsey throwing his freaking. We're gonna talk about him in a bit, but it's
that
you
Kelsey stuff,
I was
that's
gonna,
very
I was
telling.
gonna say for your brother likes to call me Fernando a curse, but maybe it's the Taylor Swift curse. Is that's really powerful for the Chiefs.
I don't know what it is, but that's what I was gonna say. Okay, so the AFC West is wide open, and then kind of what the Ravens did, like that shows you the stability of a Harbaugh, like in a sense. Like I know Jim doesn't stay very long at a lot of places, but he has won wherever he goes,
That's
and
fine.
he's been in the college game now for 5 to 6 6-7 years. He's seen the talent. He knows the talent coming in. He knows the talent that's gonna come into college, and so he might have an upper hand on a lot of that stuff. But this tells me, though, if they do go get a Jim Harbaugh, that means that John's going to take a step back. And I think Dean might realize this, have him take a step back and give more, because we all know how this is. This is a power, like a lot of what happens in the NFL is a power struggle. Owners don't want to give up power to coaches. We saw Jimmy Johnson used to have a lot of the power. He got a lot of the praise, and that did not sit well with Jerry Jones. Jerry Jones hasn't won a championship since Barry Switzer, and because obviously this fool left the team secured and everything. We're gonna see what happens in New England. We're gonna see, we see what happens around the NFL when it comes to power and ownership, and this is gonna be the interesting part. Is it all smoke and mirrors, or are they really willing to change everything that they've done in the past and go get a top tier head coach to say, you know what, we need to get our quarterback something, our young quarterback who's only 24 years old. We need to go get him some stability. Let's go get Jim Harbaugh. Let's go into this and let's do it the right way. Or is it just going to be business as usual? Go get the offensive coordinator from the Houston Texans and just who knows? And I'm not trying to call it, but you know what I mean? Like,
no, it's like, it's fine. Just because you had a bad experience with a first-time head coach, or like, what about a first-time head coach who's good at offense? Like you had that with, you had defense with Staley, and I think Lynn was more a little bit of everything. I know he was a running backs coach, but he was a little bit of everything. McCoy was more offense, I think, right? As the OC for whatever, a bunch of teams. But you know what? Look, I brought up Nick Sirianni to you the other day for now because like he was like an afterthought candidate. The Eagles were trying to go all in for Staley or somebody else. It's kind of like, hey, you're wearing a tracksuit, but just come over here and let's do an interview real quick. And like, oh yeah, this guy's actually pretty smart. Like, go check out what Tampa Bay, the OC's doing. Dave Canales channels. He's doing a great job at Baker Mayfield. Like you mentioned, the guy for Bobby Slowick for the Texans, the OC there. So just make sure it's a well thought out, look under every rock scheme. And I told you my pet peeve, Fernando, were like, it's so early in the head coaching circle for hiring, where every insider is saying that team, the Panthers, the Raiders, and the Chargers, told me they're gonna look everywhere, under every rock, extensive search on Mercury, in college football, in the XFL, and they're gonna do a good search. It's gonna be the same 4 or 5 people that we know, but hopefully the Chargers are for real and checking everywhere.
It's gonna be Dan and Dago. If they're really gonna do things differently, go get.
Yeah, Dan and Athir could be the OC.
I don't know. No, but like, and you're 100% right. Like, you need to do this differently. Like, you have to look at it differently. Feliz Navidad.
Feliz Navidad, Chile.
But you need to look at this differently. You have to do stuff differently, and you really have to. Man, they have to look at the. Our homie from Chile wants the Chargers to go full Ted Lasso over there. By the way, that report about Ben Johnson, I heard that was BS. That's not what he's asking for.
It must be so awkward too. Like, oh, I want this much money. Don't be telling people that. Like, that's weird.
I wonder if that's just a David Tepper. Like, oh yeah, like,
go see what's out there, buddy. Come back here. Like, it's gonna be only here.
Yeah, exactly.
But like, that tells you, like, for the other guys that we mentioned, Tomlin, Belichick, and Harbaugh, it's gonna be like $20 million a year.
Yeah, that's what. Especially if that contract that Jim Harbaugh just got offered by Michigan.
Oh yeah.
With Harbaugh is he going to get suspended? Like, I'm sure he's going to get told pretty soon if he is or if he isn't. If he is, I'm sure he'd be like, all right, peace. Like, I'm going back into the NFL.
They really said, take this 10-year guaranteed contract. Just don't go to the NFL for 1 year. That's kind of hard to pass up. But just 1 year, we're waiting more NFL. I'll take this money. All right, fine.
But I'm sure he still has that itch of, I never won a Super Bowl.
He's flirty. Obviously, he's a great businessman. He's kind of getting a lot of leverage and getting raises year after year. But the itch is there. He keeps flirting with teams,
Then I'm looking at, like, I'm looking at it from his point of view. Like, is there ever going to be an opportunity like this one? Like, you have Justin Herbert sitting right there, and I know all the other external stuff in the organization, all that. I'm not talking about that. I'm just talking about you're looking at the quarterback, and it feels like they'd be the perfect combo, like of quarterback. Like Jim is outspoken, he's like very out there, and Justin is more of like the even keel poker face at all time, like stuff like that. So I'm really wondering what I'd love to be a fly on the wall for that interview. Like if Jim actually does sit down with the team and talks about all that stuff, like I really would love to hear what they say to him, what he says to them, and just kind of what it's like. Like if they had a Hard Knocks for off season,
I
I'd
know for
love for it to
interviews.
be the Charger. Like that would be a great
That'd
show.
be
I know teams
that'd be a
would
good,
hate it.
good series, like how to hire a head coach. Follow us for all the interviews.
Like that would be like, you know what? And the guy could be what's the name? Oh god, the Ravens guy. He could be the one that freaking does it.
The Ravens
Ozzie
guy?
Newsome. He could be
Oh,
the one that
they helped
leads
them out,
the.
the consultant.
Yeah, well, he's the consultant now, but
Yeah,
I'm
and
saying like he could be the main guy.
they hire a,
Running
a searching
it.
firm.
Exactly, but I would really love to see what kind of is said in those meetings, just because
Yeah.
like
And real quick, I think the only one for defensive coordinator here is Mike McDonald. And but we can't overlook that Bill Belichick and Tomlin know how to run defense. We can't overlook Dan Quinn, also defensive background. That's another one. So yeah, if you go on defense, I think you get a little bit of experience from the experienced guys. That's what I like about those main guys, Harbaugh, Tomlin, and uh, Bill Belichick. They're not just married to one. Obviously, he's an expert in defense. Bill Belichick,
yeah.
Tomlin also kind of came from that, but they know a little bit of everything. I love that kind of being everywhere. I hate the specialist kind of thing,
But
but
you
if you go,
learn that stuff.
yeah, but if you go on specialists, I do like Mike McDonald. But other than that, it's like obviously Ben Johnson and Frank Smith. Frank Smith because he's familiar with the Chargers and familiar with Justin Herbert. You're familiar with Rashawn Slater. That might not be a bad hire if you go in the first
And that
time.
offensive line was stable when Frank
Hmm.
Smith was with the offensive line. So yeah, no, and the thing is too, I'm sure they're gonna want a head coach who comes in and is gonna be a head coach. Like, don't get like offense sticks with the offense, defense sticks with the defense. Like you have to oversee everything. You can't just focus on one area. I'm sure they're gonna want somebody who can focus on all three areas. By the way, whoever they hire, Ryan Ficken should stay as the
Yeah,
special teams coordinator. Like I would not let that guy leave. Like I'll be like, dude, I'll call you special assistant to the head coach,
yeah.
whatever you want. Just don't leave. Like you've done a great job with the special teams. Like I would try and
Yeah.
keep him.
I know we got to move on, but I was actually pretty impressed with Cameron Dicker. Like, I'm like, man, this guy's automatic, and
And
I
nobody
kind of
talks about him.
yeah, and I kind of made fun of the Chargers for doing the stupid like Pro Bowl thing campaign after you got beat down by 42 points. Like, who cares? And I'm like, oh, this guy actually deserves it. Give him a push. Get in the Pro Bowl. He's really good.
Yeah, and like he has just the same demeanor all the time. So it's just yeah,
I
that
was
was
really hoping they'll go for like a 65-yard at the end, but they couldn't get like 20 yards on that final drive. But whatever,
I
would
mean,
have
I'm
been cool.
sure Charger fans are thankful that they didn't get those
That's true.
extra
Yeah, that's it. Actually
yards
worked out perfectly. Be competitive, but lose at the end with pride.
because what are they, sixth right now at selecting? So
Dude, a
sixth,
lot of teams actually helped them out. Like the
yeah,
Jets won. Who else won? The Patriots won, but they're still ahead of them. Some other teams won too. But yeah, they're like six. Yeah.
yeah. So it's a good spot. I mean, you have some players there. Just gonna be interesting to see what the new head coach is gonna want out of it.